Let us all have people join as one, brothers under the sun, oh one, strong and free. One land and one nation is our cry. Dignity and peace is our sky. Like a noble eagle in its flight, Zambia, praise to thee, O one, strong and free. Praise be to God, praise be, bless our great Zambia, Zambia, Zambia. Remain we stand under the flag of our land, Zambia, praise to thee, O one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our church. Amen. May Her Honor, the Vice President, indicate business of the House for the next week. Madam Speaker, I rise to give the House some idea of the business it will consider next week. On Tuesday, 2nd November 2021, the business of the House will begin with questions. This will be followed by presentation of government bills, if there will be any. The House will then commence the debate on the motion of supply on the 2022 national budget. Madam, on Wednesday, 3rd November 2021, the business of the House will start with questions. Thereafter, the House will consider private members' motions, if there will be any. This will be followed by presentation of government bills, if there will be any. The House will then continue with the debate on the motion of supply on the 2022 national budget. On Thursday, 4th November 2021, the business of the House will commence with questions. Thereafter, the House will consider presentation of government bills, if there will be any. After that, the House will continue with the debate on the motion of supply on the 2022 national budget. Madam Speaker, on Friday, 5th November 2021, the business of the House will start with Her Honor, the Vice President's question time. This will be followed by questions. The House will then consider presentation of government bills, if there will be any. Thereafter, the House will continue with the debate on the motion of supply on the 2022 national budget. Madam Speaker, I thank you. Notes of motion. The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House do now resolve into Committee of Supply on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the period 1st January 2022 to 31st December 2022, presented to the National Assembly on Friday, 29th October 2021. This is pursuant to Article 202, Clause 3 of the Constitution of Zambia, Amendment Act 2 of 2016. Madam, I'm a bearer of a message from His Excellency, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia, recommending favorable consideration of the motion that are now laid on the table.
The question is that the House do now resolve into Committee of Supply on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 1st January 2022 to 31st December 2022, presented to the National Assembly in October 2021. Any debate? The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Madam Speaker, let me start by congratulating you and the entire presiding leadership of this House on your election following the August 21 general elections. Today, history is being made because for the first time since independence, the processing of the national budget in this House will be presided over by a female speaker, assisted by another female as First Deputy Speaker, and a man as the Second Deputy Speaker. Madam, the women are in charge. It is my honor and privilege to present the 2022 budget. This is the second time that I'm being entrusted with the task of being Minister of Finance and National Planning. May I take this opportunity to thank His Excellency President Hichilema for according me the honor to once again serve the Zambian people. Madam Speaker, I also take this opportunity to acknowledge the work of my predecessor, Dr. Bwalangandu, especially as he tried to find solutions to the crippling indebtedness of the country. Madam, I spent the last 10 years as an opposition member of parliament for a poor rural constituency. From this experience, I've learned valuable lessons which I apply in the management of the Treasury. I trust that with the guidance of the President, who himself is a very passionate person about rural development, our rural and other areas facing poverty will receive increased attention. Madam Speaker, This government has inherited an economy suffering from the effects of extreme indebtedness and COVID-19. The immense task we have as a new government is not only to overcome these effects, but also to transform the economy, help the poor escape vicious cycle of poverty, and bring prosperity to all Zambians. Madam, during the official opening of the first session of the 13th National Assembly, His Excellency the President outlined the policy direction that the new Dawn government will take in the next 5 years. Madam Speaker, the President emphasized the need to rebuild the economy, deliver jobs, and better the livelihoods of our people. He also placed emphasis on creating an environment to invigorate economic activity in which every citizen will have the opportunity to participate and benefit. Madam, concerns have been expressed that the promises we made during the campaign were made solely for the purpose of winning elections. Madam Speaker, for us as UPND, there is no Don Kuvera. We stand by our campaign promises of yesterday, today, and the future. The 2022 budget is therefore the first steps towards achieving our vision of transforming the economy. Madam Speaker, it is in this context that the theme for the 2022 budget is growth, jobs, and taking development closer to the people. Madam, to transform our economy, this budget provides incentives to support higher output and production of a wider range of products. This will create employment opportunities for our people and in turn improve their livelihoods. Madam Speaker, through this budget, we will increase support to the social sectors and social protection programs. Further, resources will be taken closer to the people to improve service delivery and involve citizens in decision-making. This is a message of hope for all Zambians to participate in taking the nation forward. Madam, my budget address this afternoon will be in 4 parts. In part 1, I will highlight the global and domestic economic developments in 2021. In part 2, I will present the macroeconomic objectives, policies, and strategies for 2022. In part 3, I will provide the details on the estimates of revenue and expenditures for 2022. And in part 4, I will conclude my address. Part 1, global domestic developments in 2021. Global economic developments. Madam Speaker, the global economy is expected to rebound this year and to grow by 5.9%. Last year, the global economy contracted by 3.1%. The recovery in growth this year is attributed to the relaxation of COVID-19 restrictions that allowed for the resumption of economic and other activities. Further, increased spending by governments and the provision of liquidity by central banks aided the recovery. Madam Speaker, commodity prices have maintained an upward trend as the global economy is recovering. The average price of copper from January to September 2021 was $9,194 per ton, compared to only $5,834 per ton over the same period in 2020. Similarly, average crude oil prices rose to $68 per barrel from $43 over the same period. Currently, copper prices stand at $9,850 per ton. More recently, crude oil prices have shot up to $84 per barrel due to constrained supply. Domestic economic developments, economic growth. Madam Speaker, it is desirable that an economy must grow at all times as measured by the gross domestic product, GDP. GDP measures the growth in the value of goods and services produced in the economy per annum, which is desirable that this must always increase. At the very least, we must consistently grow the economy at a rate higher than the population growth, currently estimated at 2.8%. This is to ensure that the economy is able to meet the demands of a growing population. Madam, the economy is steadily recovering from the adverse effects of COVID-19 pandemic. Preliminary estimates indicate that the real GDP for the first quarter of 2021 grew by 0.5% and improved to 8.1% in the second quarter. Overall, the economy is projected to grow at 3.3% in 2021, against a contraction of 2.8% in 2020. This growth is, however, not quite sufficient to impact the high poverty levels that subsist in the country and to achieve our vision of becoming a prosperous country. Budget performance. Madam Speaker, the overall budget performance was unfavorable. This was on account of higher than planned expenditure despite revenue exceeding the target. Madam, over the first 9 months of 2021, revenue and grants amounted to 77 billion kwacha against a target of 51.1, giving a positive variance of 50.7%. The positive performance was mainly attributed to dividend receipt from Bank of Zambia, higher collections for mineral royalty and corporate income tax from mining firms. The improved collections from the mining sector were mainly driven by high copper prices and the depreciation of the kwacha against the dollar. Madam Speaker, total revenues and grants for the fiscal year 2021, in other words, up to the end of December, we project these to reach 96.8 billion against the original target of 68 billion. Madam Speaker, total expenditure for the period January to September stood at 112.9 billion and was 25.7% above the target of 89.8 billion. This was largely due to higher than programmed spending on subsidies on agricultural inputs, fuel, election-related expenditure, as well as domestically financed capital expenditure. Madam Speaker, the expenditure to year end is projected at 139 billion, 16% above the target of 119. So, in short, Madam Speaker, revenue rose sharply, but expenditure even rose sharper, leading to deficits. Madam, when we spend more than what we have generated in revenues and grants, we create a fiscal deficit. That deficit requires that we borrow either from domestic or external sources. Repeatedly done, the borrowing grows too big and servicing of even just the interest charges becomes a problem. The fiscal deficit on a cash basis is projected to be 39 billion or 10.4% of GDP by the end of 2021, which is above the target of 9.3%. Madam Speaker, the level of our fiscal deficit and debt is unsustainable. This is so because as we pay external debt, a lot of foreign exchange that we earn leaves the country, contributing to the falling value of the kwacha that we've seen in the past few years. At the same time, Madam Speaker, as we spend so much money to service both the domestic and external debt, this reduces the financial resources that remain for other purposes, such as giving to CDF or hiring teachers. Madam Speaker, we must gradually reduce deficits and debts to restore fiscal and debt sustainability. Debt position. Madam Speaker, the stock of public external debt amounted to $14.71 billion as at the end of September 2021. Of this amount, central government external debt was $12.99 billion, while the guaranteed and non-guaranteed external debt by state-owned enterprises was $1.56 billion and $164 million, respectively. Madam, central government external debt increased by 2% to $12.99 billion as at the end of September, from $12.74 billion as at the end of December 2020. This was on account of disbursements from multilateral creditors and a few other creditors funding priority projects, particularly in the health sector. The stock of central government external debt includes $1.2 billion principal arrears arising from the ongoing debt service standstill. Government has also accumulated interest arrears amounting to $600 million. Madam Speaker, the stock of government guarantees, the guarantees that we give to state companies, was $1.56 billion as at end of September this year. The state-owned power utility ZESCO, including the Kafia Gorge Lower Hydropower Project, accounts for 93% of these guarantees. Madam Speaker, the stock of government securities, that is treasury bills, bonds, rose by 45.7% to 189.7 billion kwacha as at the end of September 2021, from 130 billion as at end September 2020. The increase was largely attributed to issuance of bonds to finance agriculture and fuel subsidies, as well as COVID-19 related expenditures. Domestic arrears. Madam Speaker, the stock of audited central government arrears or pending bills, arrears are simply pending bills, excluding fuel and electricity, stood at 46.9 billion kwacha as at the end of June 2021, from 41 billion in December 2020. The bulk of these arrears are road contractors, suppliers of goods and services, value-added tax refunds, and personnel-related emoluments to public service workers. The build-up of domestic arrears is largely due to budget constraints and a weak commitment control system. And by that, I mean, Madam Speaker, you know very well you have no money, but you give out a contract to a road contractor when you have no money to pay. Madam, fuel arrears. Madam, fuel arrears, that is diesel, petrol, have significantly risen due to price differential between the landed cost of the petroleum products and the pump price. The stock of fuel arrears as at the end of August 2021 stood at $478 million. $478 million that we owe suppliers of these products that we have not paid. Madam Speaker, government cannot afford to keep on accumulating arrears in this manner we've been doing. We must address the causes of these arrears, whether it is subsidies or giving out contracts when government knows very well it has no money to pay. Monetary and financial performance. Madam Speaker, prices of consumer goods and services have been on an upward trend in the first 10 months of 2021. Inflation averaged 22.9%, compared to 15.2% over the same period in 2020. This was beyond the target of keeping inflation between 6 and 8%. When the prices of commodities rise too rapidly, it means that the Kwacha buys fewer goods and services and subsequently makes our people worse off. Madam Speaker, the rise in inflation is largely due to a sustained increase in food prices induced by constrained supply of meat, fish, vegetables, as well as the depreciation of the Kwacha. Madam Speaker, one of the consequences of rising inflation, coupled with high appetite for borrowing by the government, is the high interest rates, which constrain our people and businesses from borrowing to invest. Thus, average commercial banks' lending rates remained high at 25.9% in September 2021. This is compared to 25.1% in December 2020. Madam Speaker, the Kwacha-denominated credit to the private sector grew by almost 42% in August 2021 against the contraction of 0.9% the year before. The increase was partly attributed to disbursement from the Bank of Zambia to support businesses through the targeted medium-term refinancing facility. Credit to the government to meet domestic financial needs continue to expand, although at a slower pace, growing by 29.3% year-on-year in August 2021, compared to 61.7% in August 2020. Madam Speaker, the banking sector is the lifeline of business. The sector has remained resilient despite the economic challenges caused by COVID-19 pandemic. The sector was well capitalized, supported by stable profitability, as well as prudential measures taken by the Bank of Zambia to safeguard financial stability in the wake of COVID-19. Madam, the ratio of non-performing loans to total loans at 7.7% as at end August 2021 was below the maximum prudential threshold of 10%. The structuring of distressed credit facilities for businesses severely impacted by the COVID-19 through the targeted medium-term refinancing facility supported the improvement in loan performance. Madam Speaker, to non-bank financial institutions, opened. External sector performance. Madam Speaker, regrettably, since independence, the value of our exports has predominantly been from copper, despite the enormous potential to export other products. The dependence on copper has left us vulnerable to external shocks. This situation needs to be addressed, and I will elaborate further on measures the new Dawn administration will implement to support export diversification. Madam, preliminary data indicate that Zambia exported more goods and services than was imported by us, to the tune of $1.5 billion during the first half of 2021, compared to $1 billion in the same period in 2020. This was largely due to the increase in value of copper exports. Our exports amounted to $5.1 billion and were dominated by copper, which alone contributed $4 billion to total exports. Madam, as at the end of August 2021, gross international reserves amounted to $2.9 billion, representing 5.5 months of import cover, from $1.2 billion, representing 2.4 billion of import cover at the end of December 2020. Madam, this improvement was explained by the receipt of a gift from the IMF, free gift from the IMF, amounting to $1.3 billion, as well as net market purchase of foreign exchange by the Bank of Zambia. Madam, With regard to the exchange rate, the kwacha strongly appreciated between December 2020 and September 2021, mainly on account of improved portfolio investments. The kwacha appreciated by 22.4% to a monthly average of 16.37 kwacha per dollar in September 2021 from 21 kwacha in December 2020. I go to part 2 of the address, Madam Speaker, and in here I talk about macroeconomic objectives, policies, and strategies for 2022. Madam Speaker, it is clear from the developments I've just outlined that our economy is at crossroads. Growth is low, debt has reached unsustainable levels, the fiscal space of public finances are heavily constrained, and the cost of living is escalated beyond the reach of many Zambians. In addition, successive strenuous COVID-19 waves continue to cause damage to the economy and create uncertainty to the growth outlook. Madam, addressing these challenges will require dedication, determination, and hard work from all of us. To move forward, the new Dawn administration plans to achieve the following objectives for 2022. A, attain real GDP growth rate of at least 3.5%. B, reduce inflation to single digits by end 2022 and within the target band of 6 to 8% by mid-2023. C, limit international reserves to at least 3 months of import cover. D, increase domestic revenues to not less than 21% of GDP. E, reduce fiscal deficit not more than 6.7% of GDP. And F, limit domestic borrowing to no more than 5.2% of GDP. Madam Speaker, the strategy to achieve these objectives will be founded on the 4 thematic areas as outlined in the presidential address delivered on the official opening of the first session of the 13th National Assembly. That address provided the policy direction for the development of the 8th National Development Plan and the 2022 budget. The 4 thematic areas are: 1, economic transformation and job creation. B, human and social development. C, environmental sustainability. And D, good governance environment. Let me tackle each of those in succession, starting with economic transformation and job creation. Madam Speaker, I've come to this House with a budget that begins our journey towards economic transformation. This is a journey of paying very special attention to getting our economy to grow strongly year after year. The economy growing year after year, it means producing and selling more minerals, more raw agricultural products, more processed agricultural products, manufactured items, services and others. It is the growth in production that will increase wealth and end poverty. Madam, it is this growth that will create jobs. It is this growth that will lead to more taxes being collected to pay for the health of our people and the education of our children. It will be this growth that will enable us to pay our debts and clear arrears without excessively tightening our belts. It will be this growth that will earn us more dollars. Mr. Speaker, this will be neither a sprint nor a marathon. What did I say? Sorry? I apologize. Madam Speaker, this will neither be a sprint. This will neither be a sprint nor a marathon, but a well-paced and thought-out race. It is a race traveled by other countries, especially in East Asia, Southeast Asia, where some were poorer than us in 1964, and now they've become very rich. The key is to expand production in many sectors as possible year after year. In the initial stage, our focus will be to increase output in agriculture, tourism, mining, manufacturing, energy, transport, to grow the economy and create employment opportunities, especially for the youth. Madam, economic transformation will entail shifting resources to activities of higher productivity, both within and across the sectors. So let me look at now the sectors where growth is expected to take place. Madam Speaker, agriculture presents us the best opportunity to attain growth, especially that the majority of our people, about 60%, are dependent on it. This sector has a relatively short gestation period, with low capital requirements, readily available labor, abundant water resources, and of course, the blessings of arable land. Madam Speaker, the sector, however, has for a long time faced a number of structural and other impediments to the realization of its full potential. These include low production and productivity, limited market access, underdeveloped value chains, and dependence on rain-fed agriculture. In the recent past, the frequency and intensity of climate events have also negatively impacted the sector. Madam, the current Farmer Input Support Program, delivered through a combination of direct input support and electronic vital systems, has had a number of challenges. The direct input support mode of delivering inputs is unsustainable to the Treasury, with expenditures increasing significantly over the years with a limited change in the number of beneficiaries and input package. It is also characterized by serious challenges in delivery, as beneficiaries have received fewer inputs than they've paid for. Similarly, in areas where e-voucher system is being used, some farmers have not been receiving inputs despite making contribution. Further, there's been no equity in terms of benefit between the two delivery modes, as we have seen in the past few weeks. Madam Speaker, there is therefore need to comprehensively address these challenges. To this effect, government will implement a new comprehensive agriculture support program commencing in the 2022-23 season. This program will be cost-effective, better targeted, and equitable across beneficiaries. It will also support the supply of quality inputs, attain diversification of crops, as well as increase production and productivity. Madam, it is only right that we continue to support our small-scale farmers for the reason that we all know. But, Madam Speaker, and perhaps this is the departure point, we can do more in agriculture by promoting also, as we support the small-scale farmers, by promoting large-scale estate production for both domestic and export markets. The estates can employ many people at different levels of skills, create associated business opportunities, support agro-industry, support viable outgrower schemes, and earn foreign exchange. Madam Speaker, a good example of a successful estate is the Nakambala Sugar Estate. A successful agriculture estate, in fact, can employ as many people directly and indirectly as a mine. So, Madam Speaker, engineers, agronomists, technicians, drivers, clerks, and many more will find jobs on estates if we expand them. The creation of viable farm blocks all over the country is therefore imperative in our quest to quickly create jobs for the youth. Madam, the government will promote the establishment of large-scale agriculture estates across the country that will produce and process agricultural products that are suitable in the respective areas. The vehicle for doing so will be the farm blocks, which are sometimes also called growth poles. The task of government in realizing this initiative is to provide the necessary infrastructure for farm blocks to be operational. So this will not just be creating roads into nowhere or taking power into nowhere, but taking this infrastructure to areas which will boost agricultural products. Madam Speaker, the government is already discussing with the cooperating partners to secure both the technical and the financial support for the development of some farm blocks. For example, the Nansanga farm block, which has been abandoned in the last 10 years. Let me inform this august House that the background work started this year, and I'm hopeful that actual work on the development of the farm blocks will start in the year 2022, next year. Madam Speaker, the government will also aggressively pursue the development of other farm blocks, and the nation will be kept informed of these developments. Madam, to reduce dependence on rain-fed agriculture, the government will complete and operationalize the ongoing irrigation infrastructure project. We will also mobilize highly concessional financing for irrigation equipment for small-scale farmers. Madam Speaker, to boost agriculture production, I will, in Part 3, announce measures to support agriculture mechanization. Madam, in the livestock subsector, government will recruit more extension officers to enhance provision of services to livestock farmers across the country. Livestock farmers will be trained in open grazing management practices, while animal disease prevention and control programs will continue. Government is also investing in liquid nitrogen plants that will support increased use of artificial insemination. In all these interventions, Madam Speaker, are aimed at increasing production and productivity in the subsector. Madam Speaker, in line with the new Dawn administration agenda of alleviating poverty, we will empower youth and female-headed households through livestock stocking and restocking, as well as support livestock infrastructure. Madam, with regard to the fishery subsector, the country in 2020 produced 94,943 metric tons of fish from a natural water, and 45,670 metric tons of fish under aquaculture. However, the country remains a net importer of fish. In 2020, the country imported an estimated 80,000 metric tons of fish. This subsector has potential to meet domestic demand, penetrate regional export markets, and contribute significantly towards job creation. Madam Speaker, notwithstanding the growth, the subsector faces numerous challenges such as overfishing from natural water bodies and limited investment in fingerling and fish feed production. To counter this, we will strengthen monitoring and fisheries conservation efforts in our natural water bodies. Further, to complement efforts by the private sector, aquaculture production will be supported through the establishment of additional hatcheries and completion of other infrastructure, such as aquaculture parks. These investments are expected to increase fish production and aquaculture to 61,000 tons in 2020. Tourism. Madam Speaker, 2022. I'm happy you are listening very carefully. Tourism. Madam Speaker, the new Dawn administration has identified tourism sector as another key in our transformative agenda as it stimulates economic growth. Recently, the sector has been severely hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. Madam, cognizant of the expected gradual recovery of the global tourism market, relief measures provided to the sector this year will be extended for another year. In addition, a stable economic landscape will be maintained to reduce the cost of doing business in the sector. This will include the review of the multiplicity of licenses. Madam Speaker, growing the tourism industry requires that the areas available for visitation must be diversified so that Zambia receives more tourists who also spend more nights. Presently, Livingstone and the Victoria Falls area dominate. In the next 5 years, the government will develop other parts of the country by establishing the necessary infrastructure and the regulatory framework that will make them attractive for the private sector to establish hotels, lodges, and other tourism facilities. In other words, Madam Speaker, here also there will be no roads to nowhere, no airports to nowhere, no electricity to nowhere, but where there is tourism potential. Madam Speaker, like in the case of agriculture, development partners and other stakeholders have been engaged to undertake studies with a view to launching some economic-related projects in 2022. Of immediate interest in this respect is the need to complete development in Cassava Bay in the Northern Circuit, which, Madam Speaker, was abandoned in the last 10 years. Madam Speaker.
Order.
Madam Speaker.
Order.
Zambia is scheduled to host the African Union Assembly of Heads of State and Government next year. This presents an opportunity for the country to market itself as a favorable tourist destination. I urge the tourism sector players to take advantage of the forthcoming summit to market our country and offer attractive tour packages to our visitors. Mining sector. Madam Speaker, the mining sector remains critical to the Zambian economy as it is the main contributor to foreign exchange. This role is destined to grow in importance due to the rising demand for copper, boosted by its vital role in the number of rapidly growing industrial sectors, such as manufacturing of electrical vehicles. The buzzword for copper, Madam Speaker, is that copper will be as lucrative, as money-making, as was oil in the Middle East in the 1970s. Madam, to benefit from the expected copper boom, Zambia must not just depend on the high prices. Rather, it is time now to ramp up production. The new Dawn administration will facilitate the increase in copper output from the current 800,000 tons, where it has been stuck in the last 10 years, to over 3 million tons in the next 10 years. This means, Madam Speaker, that existing mines must produce more, while new mines must be opened. Complications surrounding the existing mines, where window dressing was done, those will be resolved. Madam Speaker, the targeted copper output production level will bring higher earnings, more jobs, business opportunities, taxes, and foreign exchange. As an example, 3 million tons will keep our railways, our truckers extremely busy in terms of transportation, just merely transporting the copper to the ports. The government will ensure that Zambians will not be bystanders in this boom. I will outline the measures in part 3 of my address to attract more investment in the sector. Madam, the government will promote diversification and value addition not only to copper, but also to gemstones, manganese, and other high-value minerals like gold. I am aware of the local companies that intend to expand their mining operations, while new investors have expressed interest in setting up new plants. I therefore urge these and other investors to take advantage of the reforms in the sector and add value to our mineral resources. Madam Speaker, to promote growth of small-scale mining and address illegal mining, the government will formalize operations of artisanal miners through formation of cooperatives, especially for the youth and women. The cooperatives will be equipped with the skills and knowledge to enhance their productivity, as well as training in safe mining practices. These interventions will not only address illegal mining practices, but also create employment. In addition, we are currently undertaking a comprehensive audit of the mining licenses. Issued that will help us to develop and implement reforms to enable Zambians to participate in their own right or in partnership with foreign investors. Manufacturing and industrialization. Madam Speaker, to create jobs and achieve higher economic growth, government will support value addition to products from agriculture, forestry, mining sector, and so forth. We will promote the growth of manufacturing sector by facilitating trade and investment, as well as enhance the competitiveness of the local products. Madam, to attract investment and help to concretize value addition, the new Dawn government will reinvigorate the programs of the multi-facility economic zones and industrial parks. These, Madam Speaker, as you recall, also have been abandoned in the last 10 years. This will be achieved through the provision of tax incentives that will attract private sector investors into these zones. I will elaborate on this in part 3 of the address. Apart from the tax incentives, we shall undertake a comprehensive review of the investment promotion strategy. Madam Speaker, the Zambian internal market is too small, and this is very important. The Zambian internal market is too small to support sustained production of most goods and services, such as crops, livestock products, and manufactured products. Expanding output, therefore, requires that we must penetrate in the regional and international markets. Access to export markets will be promoted through trade missions, as well as provision of trade facilitation and support services to markets such as the Tripartite Free Trade Area and the African Continental Free Trade Area. Madam, export-led growth also requires reliable but cheap transportation to sea. Short of that, it will be hard to be price competitive. In this regard, discussions are underway with cooperating partners to look into the modalities of improving our railway system. In the same vein, steps are being taken to significantly improve services at our borders in order to minimize delays. Subject to agreement with the neighboring countries, some of the border posts are planned to operate 24 hours a day. Madam Speaker, to facilitate trade to the Great Lakes region, the capacity of Mpulungu Port will be expanded in the medium term to handle more than 800,000 metric tons of cargo per annum from the current 200,000 tons. Madam, to help reduce the cost of doing business, government will rationalize the number of licenses and permits required to operate. To further support business growth and expansion, government will amend the National Pension Scheme Act of 256 of the laws of Zambia to make the penalty regime less punitive to employers. This will encourage compliance and the registration of new employers. Small and medium enterprises. Madam Speaker, small and medium enterprises play a key role in boosting growth and job creation. It is on this basis that His Excellency the President established a dedicated Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises Development. The ministry is responsible for policy as well as the development, mentorship, and incubation of SMEs. Madam, to enhance the smooth operation of SMEs, the new Dawn administration will provide support to SMEs and cooperatives, ranging from infrastructure development as well as access to markets and credit. We already have an ongoing work in the construction of industrial yards. Madam Speaker, with regards to access to credit, I'm glad to inform this August House that various international institutions, such as UK Aid and European Investment Bank, have come on board. This is in addition to our local institutions, which have products tailored for SMEs. We have made provisions to guarantee the borrowing of SMEs through the Zambia Credit Guarantee Scheme. Energy. Madam Speaker, the energy sector is key to economic transformation. The focus will be on the development and management of energy resources in a sustainable manner. Madam, currently the energy sector is faced with many challenges. In the electricity subsector, tariffs are not cost effective, hence the low investment in the sector. In the petroleum subsector, the procurement of petroleum products has been plagued by inefficiency and non-cost reflective prices. Madam Speaker, to ensure an effective and efficient energy sector, reforms will be undertaken in the electricity and the petroleum subsectors. In the electricity subsector, we will implement a renewable energy investment plan that will improve the energy mix. This will also reduce our vulnerability to climate shocks by leveraging the declining cost of technologies to harness our vast solar resources, complemented by wind and geothermal energy. Madam, it is not a secret that the efficiency of ZESCO under the existing corporate structure has been questioned. This will be reviewed. Additionally, the power purchase agreements are being renegotiated as part of the strategy to sustain the company. Madam Speaker, to attract investment within the electricity subsector, we will implement cost-effective tariffs. We will work with countries in the region to accelerate the integration of electricity infrastructure so as to improve access to the regional power markets. Madam, we will also scale up the program of rural electrification through the extension of grid network and deployment of off-grid solutions. Madam Speaker, in the petroleum subsector, government will restructure the fuel supply chain to achieve least cost supplying while ensuring supply of petroleum products. As you may be aware, the design of the existing petroleum supply lines were largely motivated by the geostrategic realities of the 1960s, as Zambia sought to disengage from the economic connections with Southern African countries under apartheid and colonialism. Economic efficiency was considered secondary. Madam, here is an example of the inherent inefficiencies that exist today. Fuel may come into Zambia from Dar es Salaam. Yes. Whether it comes in form of raw stuff for Indian refinery or finished imported stuff, it travels all the way to the storage tanks in Ndola. From Ndola, some of that fuel returns to Mpika, Kasama, and even Nakonde, where it passed through en route to Ndola in the first place. This inefficiency
Order, honorable members, let's listen to the budget speech. Order.
This inefficiency contributes to the high cost of fuel unless it is subsidized. After 57 years of independence, it is time to redesign the supply lines so as to achieve efficiency. This is what the government is doing right now so as to remove the inefficiencies. Transport sector. Madam Speaker, transport infrastructure and systems are the arteries through which the economy pulses. Good roads, rail, air and maritime infrastructure are the backbone for facilitating economic activities as well as trade and investment domestically and within the region and beyond. Madam, in road transport, priority will be placed on maintenance, rehabilitation and upgrading of feeder roads. We have commenced the improved rural connectivity project to maintain and rehabilitate a total of 4,300 kilometers of rural feeder roads. Emphasis will also be placed on the rehabilitation of economic roads, some of which are in a very bad state, such as the Lusaka-Ndola, Kinsali-Nakonde, Kazungula-Sesheke roads. Madam Speaker, railway transport has been facing a number of challenges, the major one being the poor state of the infrastructure. To ensure sustainability, priority in the near term will be maintenance of the infrastructure. Madam, the financing of roads, the financing requirements to construct new roads as well as rehabilitate and maintain existing roads is beyond the financial capacity of the government. The same applies to railway infrastructure. This will remain so for a long time because of the previous practice of awarding road contracts even when there was no money to pay the contractors. Arrears in the road sector, Madam Speaker, arrears in the road sector have risen to almost $1 billion US. Madam Speaker, the government will therefore aggressively pursue the public-private partnership in the overhauling of the existing line and construction of new railway spurs as well as roads. I have no doubt that the private-public partnership mode of financing will be very successful because already we have received so many proposals. Madam, in the aviation sector, focus will be on the completion of Kasama and Mbala airports. Further, rehabilitation and maintenance of provincial airports and aerodromes will continue to facilitate air transport for both cargo and passengers. Information and communication technology. Madam Speaker, information and communication technology, ICT, enables economic growth by facilitating delivery of services through the internet and the mobile broadband. In the event of the COVID-19, in the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic, this sector is proved to be vital in social and economic affairs of the country. Madam, ICT is an important tool for innovation and financial inclusion. It is increasingly creating employment opportunities for the youth in various sectors such as transport, trade, and financial services. To enhance these opportunities, government will increase the number of communication towers so that this technology reaches all our citizens, especially in the unserved and underserved areas. The New Dawn administration will actualize the digital transformation agenda. Human and social development. Madam Speaker, we must put our people at the center of development. This is not just for its own sake, it is also good economics because it is now known, or common knowledge, that a country with skilled and healthy people can achieve development even if it has no natural resources. We have therefore made significant allocations to education, skills development, and health. We have also scaled up allocation to water and sanitation, as well as provision of social safety nets. Madam Speaker, Let me now elaborate on these aspects. Education and skills development. Madam Speaker, the New Dawn administration believes that education is the greatest equalizer. Sound education requires teachers. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, most of our schools, especially those in rural areas, do not have enough teachers. It is not uncommon, Madam Speaker, to find that in one school, say from grade 7 to grade 9, from grade 1 to grade 7, 2 teachers. From grade 1 to grade 9, 2 teachers. That's what we find all across the country. Madam Speaker, despite this limited number of teachers in some schools, there are at least 55,000 young trained teachers who have not been employed. Some have been waiting for 6 years or more post-training to be hired. Madam Speaker, the New Dawn administration has found the money to recruit the teachers. Madam Speaker, for the first time, Madam Speaker, the New Dawn administration has found the money to recruit the teachers. Madam Speaker, for the first time in the history of this country, we will recruit 30,000 teachers.
Order. Honorable members, order. Honorable members, can we have some order in the House?
I repeat, Madam Speaker, for the first time in the history of this country, in 2022, we are going to recruit 30,000 teachers. This is, Madam Speaker,
order.
This is more than what we've hired in the past 10 years put together. The recruitment will help to reduce the backlog of unemployed teachers. Over the next 5 years, the government will continue to hire more teachers in net terms, and the plan is to be current by 2026. Madam, these recruitments are aimed at improving the quality of education by reducing the pupil-teacher ratio. The teachers will be deployed equitably across the country to serve in all the districts. Madam Speaker, the government is aware that in some instances, the shortage of teachers is because some of them do not want to serve in remote places. They join the teaching service merely for the purpose of getting a job, but thereafter insist on transfers so as to serve in urban or peri-urban areas. Government will work out measures within 2022 to end this practice, bearing in mind that the interests of the children are paramount above anything else. Madam, to further improve the quality of education through the provision of teaching and learning materials, grants to primary schools will be increased threefold in 2022. Madam, to increase access to education, government will construct an additional 120 secondary schools in 2020. The financing for this initiative will be through a concessional loan that I recently signed with the World Bank.
Order,
Madam Speaker.
Order.
Madam Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Order.
Madam Speaker, unlike the loans which were borrowed for building all sorts of things and payable over 5 years, this loan will be payable over a period of 30 years. Madam Speaker, the United Party, UPND, has always advocated for free education for the child whose family is unable to pay. It is such support during the UNIP era that enabled many of us to be where we are today. We shall always be committed to this ideal. As such, the 2022 budget envisages concrete steps toward this goal. Government already provides free educational services for learners Madam Speaker, government already provides free education services for learners at primary schools. At secondary school level, however, learners currently pay. Typically, they pay 600 kwacha per annum per child for tuition when not in boarding. If in boarding, they pay a total of 3,600 kwacha, inclusive of the 600 tuition fee. In addition, parent-teachers association fees and examination fees are paid. Madam, tuition, parent-teacher association fees, examination fees, and the tuition fees, those will be abolished.
Order. Honorable members, order.
Madam Speaker, I will repeat that. Tuition, parent-teachers association fees, examination fees, and tuition fees, those are being abolished in 2020. To this end,
order.
To this end, Madam Speaker, government will provide grants to public schools and those supported by government to meet the increased cost of the operational cost of the schools. In other words, we remove those because government is going to pay. Madam, regarding boarding fees, a bursary scheme will be introduced for vulnerable learners. The beneficiaries for bursaries, Madam Speaker, the ones to determine whether a child will benefit or not, it will not be a permanent secretary in Lusaka. No. It will not be a permanent secretary in the province. No. It will not be the DEPS. No. The ward is going to determine which child deserves to receive a bursary.
Order. Order. Honorable members, can we maintain the dignity and honor of the House? I know there's excitement, but let's hold it. Otherwise, we'll be here the whole day. Can we have order?
Madam Speaker, I'm sure you agree with me that in a situation where the most deserving children must be identified, the community itself is the best to choose who that child is. The exact modalities are being worked out ahead of the opening of the schools in 2022. Madam Speaker, to ensure that the girl child has equitable opportunities to quality education as a boy child, government will address challenges that the girl child faces, such as walking long distances to school, early marriages, and so forth. In this regard, we will expand the support to the girl child through Keeping Girls in Schools program from the current 28,964 to 43,520 girls in 2020. 2022. I'm glad you are so attentive. Health sector. Madam Speaker, just like in the education sector, the New Dawn administration is breaking the record of recruitment in the health sector. In 2022, we will recruit and deploy 11,200 health workers. This is unprecedented. The amount we've provided for in the budget.
Honorable members, can we have order?
The amount we have provided for in the budget will also enable the Minister of Health to put on payroll health staff who have been working without receiving salaries in certain cases for 2 or 3 years. Madam, the recruitment will improve the quality of health care while reducing the backlog of unemployed frontline health personnel. Measures have been put in place to improve supply management systems to ensure availability of essential medicines and medical supplies. The procurement of medicines and medical supplies will be undertaken by the Zambia Medicines and Medical Suppliers Agency in accordance with the Zambia Medicines and Medical Supplies Agency Act No. 9 of 2019, not the Ministry of Health. Further, we will prioritize equipping and re-equipping of health facilities with modern equipment. Madam Speaker, to increase access to quality and affordable health care, government will continue with the program of construction and completion of health infrastructure throughout the country. To ensure that health care is affordable, we will reform the National Health Insurance Scheme to benefit all. Madam Speaker, to further enhance health care in the country, government will partner with the private sector to create centers of specialization so that Zambians can access specialized health care locally while attracting regional medical tourism. Madam Speaker, we will increase financing towards epidemic and pandemic management to prepare for unforeseen diseases such as Ebola and COVID-19. As we do so, efforts will be made to ensure that there is no disruption in the delivery of routine health programs. In addition, government will pay particular attention to addressing communicable and non-communicable diseases. Madam Speaker, let me take this opportunity to thank the frontline health workers for their sacrifices and courage during the time when we have had outbreaks of COVID. Water and sanitation, Madam Speaker, the New Dawn administration is undertaking a number of water and sanitation projects to improve access to clean and safe drinking water as well as to provide sanitation services. We will also work with our cooperating partners to ensure that these projects are completed in good time. One of the key outcomes of these interventions is to reduce distances our mothers and children cover to fetch water. Madam, to reduce the cost of drilling boreholes, government has scrapped the fees for application, registration, and annual fees to drill domestic boreholes. Application, registration, and annual fees will only apply to commercial boreholes. However, it will still be a requirement to register all boreholes or apply to drill in a borehole failure. Apply to drill a borehole failure to which penalty fees shall apply. These measures are with effective from 1st January 2022. Social protection. Madam Speaker, to ensure sustained and continued protection of the poor and vulnerable, the new Dawn administration will upscale social protection. Madam, the social cash transfer program will be scaled up by increasing the number of beneficiaries and the transfer value. In 2022, the number of beneficiary households under the program will be increased to over 1 million from the current 880,539. Madam, in 2022, the transfer value for households will be increased from 150 kwacha to 200 kwacha per month. For households with severely disabled members, the transfer value will increase from 300 to 400 kwacha per month. Madam, the social cash transfer has been characterized by high administration costs, delayed payments, and misappropriation. To address these challenges, we will improve and strengthen the payment mechanisms and oversight of the program. Madam Speaker, with regard to the Food Security Pack program, the number of beneficiaries will be increased to 290,000 households in 2022 from 263,700 as at end August 2021. This program is targeted at the vulnerable but viable farmers. Other social protection interventions that will be scaled up include the girls' education and the women's empowerment and livelihood program, the homegrown school feeding program, and the public welfare assistance scheme and child welfare programs. Madam, as at the end of September 2021, pension benefit arrears for retired public service workers stood at 1.2 billion kwacha. This has negatively impacted their livelihood. To safeguard the livelihoods of retirees, to safeguard the livelihood of retirees in 2022, the new Dawn administration would dismantle all outstanding pension arrears. For public service workers and curtail the accumulation of arrears going forward. Madam Speaker, to make the pension system financially sustainable,
Order.
to make the pension system financially sustainable and provide social security to retirees, government will review and amend relevant legislation, including Public Service Pension Act 260 of the laws of Zambia, Local Authorities Superannuation Fund Act 284 of the laws of Zambia, and the Pension Scheme Regulation Act 27 of 2005. The new pension system will also enable retirees to access accrued benefits before retirement, as pronounced by His Excellency the President.
Order.
Environmental sustainability. Madam Speaker, the new Dawn administration places environmental sustainability at the center of all our development efforts. To bequeath future generations with a better environment, a ministry dedicated to champion development of a green economy and a sustainable environment was created. Madam, in environmental sustainability, focus will be to strengthen climate change adaptation and mitigation, promote sustainable natural resources management, and enhance the coverage of early warning systems. With the renewed focus of the new Dawn administration on greening the economy, we ensure that our social and economic activities are sustainable and efficient. Madam Speaker, we will also promote innovative financing for climate change interventions. This will be done through mechanisms such as the use of green bonds, promotion of carbon trading, and putting in place legislation that establish a national climate change fund. Madam Speaker, government will review the fee structure for environmental impact assessment. This is to reduce the cost of doing business and align them to international best practice. Good governance environment. Madam Speaker, we need to create a good governance environment in which the conduct of public affairs is done in a responsible, accountable, and transparent manner. This is the commitment of the new Dawn administration. Our priorities in this regard will be to fight corruption, strengthen the rule of law, and ensure sound public financial management. We will also take resources closer to the people through decentralization. Fight against corruption. Madam Speaker, the new Dawn administration has placed a high premium on the fight against corruption. Corruption takes away resources that would have been used to better the health of our children, give them better quality education, and improve livelihoods for our people. Corruption also leads to the adoption of policies that rob future generations of opportunities. Madam, to strengthen the fight against corruption, we have increased the allocation in the 2022 budget for the law enforcement agencies and the investigating wheels. This is in line with the pronouncement made by the President. Madam Speaker, sound public financial management is key in meeting the development agenda of the new Dawn administration. The major focus will be on strengthening national planning, internal controls, audit, resource mobilization, procurement, as well as transparency in debt contraction and management, among others. Madam, to reposition the country in line with the economic transformation agenda, I will bring to this House the 8th National Development Plan for approval within this session. Madam Speaker, to enhance internal controls and ensure timely financial reporting, government will expand the coverage of the financial management system to the district level and develop a standardized local authorities financial management information system framework. This will further strengthen the financial governance of the Constituency Development Fund. Madam, let me turn to one of the consequential issues in our public financial management, public procurement. This forms a significant portion of public expenditure and has been subject to abuse. The new Dawn administration will ensure that all public procurements are at the right price, at the right quality, and delivered on time. This will be achieved through strict adherence to the provisions of the Public Procurement Act No. 8 of 2020 and ensuring that all public investment projects are appraised. Debt management. Madam Speaker, our external debt is unsustainable. Our external debt is unsustainable. With high debt servicing obligations, government has had very limited resources to spend on programs that contribute to economic growth and poverty reduction. Our public and public guaranteed debt situation calls for restructuring to release cash. In this regard, government applied for debt restructuring under the common framework for debt treatment beyond the debt service suspension initiative. Madam, to provide an anchor to our debt restructuring engagement, the New Dawn administration is actively engaging the International Monetary Fund, IMF, for a funded program. It is very imperative, Madam Speaker, that Zambia gets the support from the IMF for our economic reform program. Once attained, Zambia will be able to engage creditors to restructure its debt under the common framework. So to engage the creditors and successfully negotiate the debt, the gateway to that is to have an IMF program, which has been elusive for so many years. Once this will increase, this will release, once we negotiate the debt, this will release cash resources which will enable us to finance more development needs already in 2022. For now, we aim to conclude with the creditors for restructuring of debt. We hope this can be done by mid-2022. Sorry, first quarter of 2022. Madam Speaker, I therefore urge this House, and the nation at large to rally together and support the government to reach an agreement with the IMF by mid-November this year. There is no option to this. Otherwise, the debts, there is no option to this. Otherwise, the debts we owe will choke this nation to a standstill. So IMF program is absolute necessity. As I've already stated, to give you an example, Madam Speaker, the salaries we pay to the public service and debt service, those are not even sufficiently covered by the taxes that we collect. Repeat, you collect all the taxes, you collect.
Order. Order. Order.
As I've already stated, debt service and the public service salaries exceed domestic revenues. In 2022, we shall only manage to finance other activities because of that grant, that gift that we received from the IMF of 1.3 billion, which we have put to good use by hiring teachers and doctors. Madam Speaker, it is therefore absolutely essential that we get to a program with the IMF. Madam Speaker,
Order.
we are engaging collaboratively with our various categories of creditors with the assistance of our financial and legal advisors to work towards a consensual debt resolution. In so doing, we will adhere to the principles of transparency and equitable treatment of all creditors. Madam, to curtail further accumulation of debt, government will not contract an external non-concessional loan except in instances of refinancing. With regard to domestic debt, we ensure that the issuance of government securities will be primarily through auctions. Private issuance of bonds will be minimized. Madam Speaker, I shall be bringing to this August House, within this session, the loans, grants and guarantees authorization bill, which will repeal and replace the Loans and Guarantees Authorization Act, Cap 366 of 1969. The bill will, among others, propose to enhance transparency in public debt management, including loan contraction, and provide a framework for evaluation, issuance, and monitoring of public guarantees. Fiscal policy. Madam Speaker, the New Dawn administration's fiscal policy agenda is to progressively reduce fiscal deficits to sustainable levels while supporting growth that generates jobs and reduces poverty. To achieve this, we will employ a combination of revenue mobilization, administrative reforms, and expenditure rationalization measures. Madam, in the medium term, our target is to increase domestic revenue to at least 21% of GDP. To achieve this, government will streamline the tax system and place a high priority on fair and equitable taxation, as well as establish a stable and predictable tax policy environment. Further, we will rationalize the mining tax system to attract investment, which in turn will increase production. We will also address base erosion and profit shifting to boost domestic revenue. Madam Speaker, to take advantage of the ICT for revenue collection, government will connect an additional 100 public services to the government service bus and payment gateway. This will bring the total number of services to 300 by the end of 2022. Further, the Zambia Revenue Authority systems will be interfaced with the government service bus and other systems to improve on regulatory compliance and seal revenue leakages. Madam Speaker, to rationalize expenditure, we reduce areas of wastage of resources in the budget and channel them to other need areas that will improve the livelihoods of our people. The migration of beneficiaries under the Farmer Input Support Program to cheaper comprehensive agriculture policy in one such measure. Madam Speaker, to further reduce expenditure on goods and services, the new Dawn government will strictly enforce the provisions of the Public Procurement Act No. 8 of 2020. We will ensure that the procurement of public goods, works, and services are done at the right price in accordance with the quarterly market price index published by the Zambia Procurement Authority. Strategies on dismantling of public arrears. Madam Speaker, to curtail the accumulation of arrears and dismantle the stock, we have developed an arrears dismantling strategy. The key measures in the strategy include budgetary provisions, debt or check swaps, as well as debt refinancing and restructuring. We plan to liquidate a substantial amount of the domestic arrears over the next 5 years. Monetary sector. Madam Speaker, government is committed to lowering the cost of living for our people by reducing the current high levels of inflation. In this regard, Bank of Zambia will take all the necessary action to bring inflation down to the target band of 6 to 8% by mid-2023 at the latest. Further, implementation of monetary policy will continue to rely on forward-looking framework anchored on the monetary policy range. This will take into account subdued economic activity and existing vulnerabilities in the financial system. Financial inclusion. Madam, the country has made significant progress in financial inclusion. The level of financial inclusion among adults increased to 6.6 million, or 69.4% in 2020, from 4.8 million, or 59.3% in 2015. This was largely driven by a surge in the use of digital financial services, particularly mobile money, to 58.4% in 2020, from 14% in 2015. Madam, despite the progress made towards enhancing financial inclusion, 2.9 million, or 30.6% of adults, remain financially excluded, with women, the rural-based population, as well as small and medium-scale enterprises being the most challenged. In this regard, government will upscale the implementation of the National Financial Inclusion Strategy 2017 to 2022, aimed at enhancing financial inclusion in collaboration with various stakeholders. Next, Madam Speaker, decentralization. Madam Speaker, you may note that until now, the CDF has been pegged. The CDF has been pegged at 1.6 million kwacha per constituency if it got released at all. The anchor for the new Dawn administration is taking resources closer to the people. To this end, we have significantly increased CDF to 25.7 million kwacha.
Order!
Right, and tell them, you look amazing, but I didn't come for you, I came for Jesus. Come on, tell somebody. Tell them, you look amazing, but I didn't come for you, I came for Jesus. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Amen. Hallelujah. Praise the living God. Let me tell you something. No matter what you say, what you hear, I want you to know, as the apostle of this convocation, that there is a divine restraining order over this meeting, over your life. Are you catching what I'm saying? The devil's back was broken last night. He did not want us to address and arrest that spirit of death. But boy, we did. Through the power of the Holy Ghost. Are you catching what I'm saying? Amen. And so this morning I woke up and God impressed upon me. He says, you know, ask for the atmosphere of the Holy Spirit. Listen to me. Talk to me, somebody. The Holy Spirit is the climate of this